Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Word to word synonyms, translations and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaur Chandra Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So welcome Hare Krishna dear devotees, and please feel free to share your realizations. Others can join in after this also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We are in the chapter 11, verse 30, the universal form. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu. Thank you, Purambhadra Devidasi Mataji. Thank you, Krishna Samarpan Das, Krishna Prabhu, for giving us an opportunity to give our realization in this class. So we are Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 30, the universal form. Leli hasye grasamana samantal lokan samagran vadanair jalabhi तेजोभिरा अपूर्य जगत समग्रम भासस्तवोग्राह प्रतपन्ति विष्णु लेलिहस्ये ग्रसमाना समन्ताल लोकान् समग्रान् वदनैर्ज्वलभिः तेजोभिरा अपूर्य जगत समग्रम भासस्तवोग्राह प्रतपन्ति विष्णु.
Do you know the tune, Prabhuji? Vacho Vegam, Manasasa Krodha Vegam?
I tried, Prabhuji, but somehow I'm not getting it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not correcting you all the time because you're trying your best. Your age is such, but you're going to be very careful with the tunes, the authorized tunes, So it doesn't matter. You understand, you accept that you cannot pick up the tune, that's fine. Please continue. Please continue. Hare Krishna.
लेली हस्य licking, grasmanaha devouring, samantat from all directions, lokan people, samagran completely, vadanaihi by the mouth, jalabihi with blazing, tejobhi by effulgence, apurya covering, jagat the universe, samagram all, bhashya illuminating, tava your, ugraha terrible, pratapanti scorching, Vishnu, O all-pervading Lord. Licking devouring from all direction, people completely by the mouth with blazing, by effulgence covering the universe, all illuminating your terrible scorching, O all-pervading Lord. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the words you are manifest. There is no purport. So my realization from this is here Arjuna can see the Krishna's universal form, devouring all beings with flaming mouth. This is what we can see is the destructive power of time by Lord Krishna. So all beings are consumed by time. That is what we can see from this particular verse. So this illumination signifies is like both creation and the destructive process. So we can see that here is the Krishna's control over the entire cosmos. that such terrifying vision of the universal form the devotee should encourage to surrender Krishna, because this material life is temporary, and we should focus on our eternal spiritual goal. So this vision helps devotees to appreciate the vastness of Krishna's power. And also we should encourage ourselves to detach from the worldly attachment and focus on deeper connection with Krishna. In one of the Srila Prabhupada's lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Verse 4, translation, the devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purush, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and growing earrings and are adored with garlands. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that with our material senses, we cannot pursue anything from the transcendental Lord. Our present senses we have to rectify by the process of devotional service. And then Lord himself becomes reveal us. Also, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, complete Bhagavad Gita, that Lord can be pursued only by a pure devotional service. And that pure devotional service can lead one side of the Lord, and that only devotional services can reveal him. In Brahma Samhita also it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with devotional service. So we have to always think of Krishna and also detach from the material world. So in one of the, again, in back to Godhead, Srila Prabhupada mentioned about the detachment, that this self-realization can be only developed from the platform of detachment. And detachment is one of the characteristics of aesthetic love for Krishna. He has given the example of King Bharat. King Bharat was so attracted by the beauty of the lotus feet of Krishna that even in his youth, youngful time life, he gave all kinds of attachment to his family, children, friends, and kingdom. So we need to develop detachment. So that detachment comes only from tapasya. And what is tapasya? Again in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, Verse 46, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that if we purify our existence by tapasya, we can also be wonderful. We can also get wonderful things, that too by the grace of the Lord. Nothing is possible without tapasya. So the more we energize or engage in our austerity, the more we become powerful by the grace of the Lord. So that tapasya means voluntary austerity is performed for our perfection, for the spiritual development. So no one can become an advanced devotee without developing the detachment. So we have to develop that detachment, and that only detachment we get by in association of the devotees and reading the Srila Prabhupada's book. Also, Srila Prabhupada further mentioned that we must practice the spiritual life in this. I mean, when we are in the material world, we should practice spiritual life even in this material world. Like Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this world, I mean, the Lord has created this, but it's a prison created by the Lord to reform us and to help us to surrender to Him, surrender to Krishna. And it's very keen, Lord Krishna is very keen to get us back to Godhead. But we are not, I mean, in general, we are not keen to do that. So only the divine, and in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 14, in translation, it says that the divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. So we need to surrender to what Lord has given us. Lord Srila Prabhupada has given us many platforms, his lectures, books, and association of the devotees, and then we can achieve what we need. Hare Krishna, this is my relation.
Thank you, Sopal Prabhu. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu. Thank you, Purni Pragna Devi Dasi Mataji, and thank you, Krishna Prabhu, for the opportunities. The verse we are discussing is chapter 11, verse number 30. Leliyase grasa manah samantal lokan samagran varnair jaladvihi tejo virapurya jagat samagram bhasastavo graha prapanti Vishnu. Translation: O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds you are manifest. The last time I gave my relation was on 16th of August, and today is 10th of July. That was 23, this is 24. So I'm very fortunate to be back in this association. And last time we discussed verse number, chapter 10, verse number 41. So I missed a lot. So anyway, the first thing which comes to my mind after reading this verse is our helplessness. And if I read the previous verse also, just to make my realization more sensible, I see all people rushing with full speed into your mouths as moths dash into a blazing fire. And then Arjuna says that, O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds you are manifest. So this shows our helplessness. This verse shows that we are so incapable and we are forced to suffer. And that's we experience in this material world. Prabhupada keeps repeating on this. Maharaj keeps talking about this, that this Kali Yuga, where we are forced to suffer, whether we like it or not, this is a bad bargain we have got into. Of course, there are a lot more. Arjuna is talking about Krishna, about immeasurable rays, and how he's manifesting in the universal form. So we can elaborate, but I thought I'll share my relation on the suffering and how we actually are bound into these circumstances, whether we like it or not. And we understand this universal form, which Krishna says previously in Bhagavad Gita, that nobody has seen it before. And being Arjuna's follower, we can actually understand this form of Krishna and can relate and can understand our situation, and probably understanding the situation can help the devotee to actually warn other people that we are in a terrible situation. We need to come out of this. And in this way, our bhakti can improve if we can really understand and follow the mood of our disciple succession. So we share a lot of our post from our website posted by Amrish Prabhu in our groups in Nagpur area. One of this which I would like to read, which is very relevant, where Maharaj is talking about it, to bring my realization forward. We should carve one thing in our mind. Everything is under the control of Krishna, whether we like it or not. It is a fact. Because he is the supreme controller, if he allows, then only we can see and hear each other. In this age, it is so rare to come together to glorify him. And this is the point to note. In this age, it is so rare to come together to glorify him. Day by day, Kali Yuga forces are advancing very fast. In order to get out of the precarious situation we are in, very sincere attachment to Vedic tradition are required. The domain of Krishna is completely unknown to us. Our sincerity alone will give the peep into that domain. So that's what we are trying to understand. This is also Krishna's form. The domain of Krishna is completely unknown to us. Our sincerity alone can give the peep into that domain. So that's Maharaj sharing, and Amrit was nicely sharing, putting that post on the thing, and we are sharing in our various groups. And in fact, I've been asked some question on this on this post also. So going further into this suffering of ours, which we are into, whether we like it or not. Today we were reading some book, and very important point which that was we have started reading SSR again, and very importantly, Prabhupada very nicely write about attachments, and he very clearly mentions about 5 types of attachment. He's explaining that first chapter only, which probably you all know. So Prabhupada writes, unfortunately, this body is anchored to mundane consciousness by 5 strong chains. So Prabhupada is making it very practical, as he always does, which are: number 1, attached to the material body due to ignorance of spiritual facts. This is where the suffering comes. Number 2, attachment to kinsman due to body relations. This is very common. Attachment to the land of birth and to material possessions such as house, furniture, state, estates, property, business, papers, etc. Number 4, attachment to material science, which always remains mysterious for want of spiritual light. That is the dryness of all this material knowledge. Number 5 is attachment to religious forms and holy rituals without knowing the personality of Godhead or his devotees who make them holy. These are the 5 attachments which Prabhupada is elaborately very pinpointed these things so that people like me can understand and probably try to explain whatever I understand. And Prabhupada further writes, personality of Godhead or his devotees who make them holy, these attachments which anchor the boat of the human body are explained in the detail in 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's where the example of banyan trees comes. That shows the attachment, that how bound we are with situation. And even if we want to come out, we just cannot come out. There are compared to a deeply rooted banyan tree, which is ever increasing its hold on the earth. It is very difficult to uproot such a strong banyan tree, but the Lord recommends the following process. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this tree with the weapon of detachment. So doing, one must seek that place from which, having once gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything has begun and in whom everything is abiding since time immemorial. So this is how helpless we are, and this attachment. I was discussing about the banyan tree. When the banyan tree is older, it's very hard to find which is the original banyan tree roots are, and it's just everywhere. In every branch becomes a root, and older it gets, we get more bound. So that's our situation, and that same thing Arjuna is talking about it, that we are suffering helplessly, and he says that I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths. Flaming means, yeah, fire mouths, and covering the universe with your immeasurable light. So this is how helplessly, because of Krishna's energy, everybody is suffering, and the cause of suffering is attachment. And how do we come out of attachment? Krishna gives, and Prabhupada explains very nicely. And I would just like to probably understand this suffering part and attachment part. So this attachment is so deep that it's very hard to even understand. This is my realization, that we are attached to something. And Krishna very nicely describes in the chapter 15, verse number 1. When I first time read this verse, I said how that is possible. But Krishna says, the blessed Lord said, there is a banyan tree which has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is knower of the Vedas. So understanding this tree is the knower of Vedas. And understanding this tree means understanding the attachments, understanding suffering, understanding our real situation, understanding our helplessness. And more we understand our helplessness, more we surrender. So Prabhupada very nicely explained this verse in the purport. The entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. That's me. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end. And for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. The tree's root grows upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. That is the way that we don't suffer, and we don't see the end of the way Arjuna is saying that how actually people are going into the mouth of Krishna, flaming mouth. So that is indestructible tree of illusion. And that is our challenge. That's where our suffering starts, and that's where we are suffering, and probably our suffering keeps going, keep going up. And I already discussed about that. It's very hard to understand this tree. Further, Krishna is telling, I'll quickly read the translation of the same chapter, verse 3 and 4. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends. This is what Prabhupada also writes there, where it begins, one, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this tree with weapon of detachment. This determination is very critical. But this determination can become ego also. That's what I realized when I was doing preaching, so-called preaching activity in Nagpur. And so this is very, very, I probably need to meditate on this and understand that how this determination can be without attachment. So doing, one must seek that place from which have once gone, one never returns. So after that detachment, we understand the situation, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything has begun and in whom everything is abiding since time immemorial. So that's Krishna talking about this, that's how it is and how difficult it is and how we can come out of this. And I would only like to mention only one word from this verse, is asanga. This word asanga is very important in this connection, because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment but discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. That's our choice. That's how we select whom we hear. That's why we surrender to Prabhupada. As a result of such discussion in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is, as Amrish Prabhu will always say, very black and white. He's no if and but. One comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the only way. Then the first thing one must do is surrender to him. The description of that place where whence going no one return to this false reflected tree is given here. That's what Arjuna is seeing, that where the those people are, those souls are actually going. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything has emanated. To gain favor of that personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is a result of performing devotional service by hearing, chanting, etc. So the surrender is also, we discuss about surrender all the time. To gain favor of the personality of Godhead, one has to surrender, and this is a result of performing devotional service by hearing and chanting, not mentally surrendering. He is the cause of, and then Prabhupada writes, he is the cause of this extension of this material world. This is already explained by the Lord himself in the seed verses, Aham Sarvasva Prabhu. So this is what I realized from this verse about suffering and about attachment and how strong they are and how difficult it is for us to come out. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, our guest Pige Mataji, and His Grace Samarpan Krishna Prabhu, for giving us opportunity to share our realization on this verse. And thank you, Sopan Prabhuji and Avinash Prabhu, for your very, very nice and elaborate realization. Leli hase grasamanaha samanta lokan samagran वदनैर्ज्वलब्धिः तेजोभिरापूर्य जगत् समग्रं भासस्तवोग्राः प्रतपन्ति Vishnu. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, devouring all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. So this again the continuation from previous verse. So here Arjuna is actually seeing Krishna's universal form, which is actually quite frightening, and he's also is quite bewildering as well. So this terrible form that actually Arjuna is seeing and is describing, where now he's saying that he see, Vishnu, he's devouring all the people from all sides with your flaming mouths, So the similar actually meditating on this point, as we are in this material world as living entities, the conditioned living entities, So Krishna further in this same chapter, he says, Kalosmi loka shaya krit prabiddo, time I am the great destroyer of the world. So as a time, so time personified, as a time Krishna is actually the greatest destroyer of the world. So especially in this material world, everyone actually ultimately get killed. Death is everywhere, and everything get destroyed in this material world. That's why it's called Mrityu Lok. So everyone is bound to die, especially the conditioned souls. They actually perpetually suffering in this material world, no matter in which planetary system you are in. The miseries are always there. And actually, the Krishna's material energy, and we are always under the influence of these three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And because we're illusion, we actually try to manufacture many ways, and we are always under illusion to think that we may find a way to become happy in this world. But that actually the dream remains the dream. We're always running behind it, and our actually attachment in this material world, to our family, to our actually belongings, as Avinash Prabhu is also very nicely described that point, giving reference to that actually verse from 15th chapter. So actually, I was kind of meditating on a similar angle. That ultimately, actually, we are rushing towards Krishna. Actually, we do not realize the time element. There's actually one of the manifestation of Krishna is always chasing us. And it's just matter of time that actually our end will be in front of us. So everyone, as it is says that actually in that actually Kurukshetra, all the soldiers, everyone will be slain on both sides except the Pandavas, who are actually the pure devotees of the Lord. So this is actually the real condition, So actually the analogy is given, actually the flaming mouth, and this material world is also in many places it described like a blazing fire, even Shishtashtakam is called a Bhav Mahadavagni, it's like a forest fire, and everyone is actually burning, actually suffering immensely in this material world. But sometimes we do not even understand that actually this is the actually cause of our suffering, that actually we are actually born in this material world, and that is also on account of our own karmas. So unless actually we understand this, there is actually no progress. The second point he says the covering, he said the covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with a terrible scorching rays, So the Krishna's effulgence is actually spread throughout the actually, all the material and spiritual world. Even the sun and moons actually, which are present in this material world, they also actually derive, all that energy or actually the effulgence from Krishna's body rays as well. So wherever actually, Krishna is present, that place actually get illuminated. But actually, unless we understand our actual position and we surrender into Krishna, as long as we are in this material world and under the influence of these modes, we will always suffer. As Srila Prabhupada in one of his lecture, he mentioned that actually Vedic injection is to actually make a progress from the darkness to the light, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya. He mentioned that point. So that is actually Vedic instruction. And we are in this material world, we are under ignorance, we are always under the darkness. So this is the darkest part of the creation. So we are always actually under the ignorance because we do not have the actually real knowledge. And unless we actually make efforts, to actually actually try to find out the ways or actually get in touch with the devotees of the Krishna, there is no possibility of actually obtaining any knowledge, real knowledge. And that will only lead us to the real light or the knowledge. And that will actually help us to actually get out of this material miseries. In Srimad Bhagavatam, actually, in Canto 1, Chapter 7, this verse is mentioned, where it says that Arjuna says that Krishna Mahabhahu Bhaktanam Abhyangara Tvam Eko Dhayamananam Apavargosi Samsrite. Arjuna said that, oh my Lord Sri Krishna, You are the almighty personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill a fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find the path of liberation in you only. So the same point is again emphasized that actually the way out of this, actually the perpetual cycle of actually birth and death, and actually the sufferings that actually comes along, is actually that actually path that leads to Krishna, and unless we actually become a devotees of Krishna, there is no question of actually fearlessness, that can be only granted by Krishna only, instilled by him in the heart of his devotees. And then we can able to find a path of liberation from this material world, which is just like a burning flames, as it again same analogy is given. So these are the actually realizations actually actually came while I meditating on this verse. So yes, actually that's what I realized. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu ji and Pun Pragya Mata ji and Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving us this platform to share our realizations. So today we are doing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse number 30. Lili se grasmanah samantal lokan samakran vadne jvalabhi tejo bhirapurya jagat samagram bhasastavo graha pratapanti Vishnu. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. So as we are just reading in last 3-4 verses, that there is lot of description of the burning mouths, flaming mouths here, and how helplessly all the people are going in the flaming mouth of this universal form of Krishna. So there is a very interesting word here, which is grasamana, devouring, and that means that it's just like a hungry person eating ferociously and consuming, swallowing everything. That's how helplessly all the people are actually entering in the mouth of universal form of Krishna. So we have already heard from Avinash Prabhu that how helpless we are here in this material world, and this material world is like a blazing fire already. We are suffering here all the time, although we when we are very ignorant, we don't accept it that we are suffering. And if we talk that to some people that we are suffering here, they don't accept it at all. They say, no, we are happy, we are not suffering at all. But when we read our scriptures, we meet devotees, we get their association, then we realize, oh yeah, we are actually suffering in the material world. So this ghastly form of Krishna is very frightening for everyone, but for a devotee, because he understands that this is not the real form of Krishna, and a devotee just wants to see Krishna's original Shyam Sundar form, meditate on that form, which is very blissful, but this universal form is only, it just agitates the mind. It doesn't give us the peacefulness, the blissfulness at all. So that's why devotees don't want to meditate on this form of Krishna. And as in the previous verses, we can see that Arjuna is giving different analogies to describe what he is seeing. As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouth. That's what he says. And then also in the verse 29, he says that I see people rushing full speed into your mouths as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. So we are like moths, and we are just rushing towards the death. And in this verse again, the flaming mouths are devouring all the people. The effulgence is so vast that it's covering all the universes. The rays are painful, terrible, and scorching. It is there. So a devotee, because he realizes that we are helpless here, but if some Vaishnav is there who is just guiding us how we can come out of this terrible condition. So when he realizes this and he just starts going on that path, then this blazing fire of this material world actually doesn't give so much suffering as is used to be before, because he knows that this is just the work of Maya Devi. So that is how we have to prepare for our death. And then there is a very beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, verse number 17. Ayurharati Vaipunsaham Udayannastam cha yannaso tasyarte yakshano nita uttam shloka vartaya. Both by rising and by setting the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all good personality of Godhead. And that's what, when a devotee realizes that he is just, if he is just discussing about Krishna and he is in service of Krishna, so he can just utilize his human form very nicely, and there are chances that he might be in service of Krishna all the time, eternally actually. So in this verse also, I would like to read few lines here from the purport. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord by acceleration of devotional service. Time and tide wait for no man, so the time indicated by the sunrise and the sunset will be uselessly wasted if such time is not properly utilized by realizing identification of spiritual values. So if human life is simply awarded to a living entity so that he can realize his spiritual identity and his permanent source of happiness. And happiness is just in Krishna's service. It's just that's what our life has, this human form has been given so that we can utilize it in service of Krishna. Don't waste it. That is how we have to prepare for our death. By mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are at least thinking about it. Otherwise, we didn't even think about it, that we are just wasting our time in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this verse, when we read this verse and we see that how helpless our existence is, and if we want to make it useful, then what we have to do and how we can just prepare for our final goal. So that is what I realized from this verse. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
What about Dolly Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Oh. Thank you for such a great opportunity to share our realizations. Jai Shri Bhagavad Gita, verse 30, chapter 30, 11 and verse 13. Thank you. Le kaya se grashaman hasaman samanantal lokan samagran vadane jala thihe tejo phi apurya jagat samagram bhashash tavo graha pratapanti Vishnu. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouth, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. So this is a very important verse which makes me realize that death is for sure, that we all know that one day we are going to go to deathbed. Because Lord controls the world with force of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. In this verse, Arjuna says that Arjuna is in the mode as all devouring force that is engulfing his friends from all sides and viewing the apparition of future destined even in the cosmic form of God. Arjuna sees his enemies being wiped out in the imminent battle, and he also sees many of his allies in the grip of death. So it makes us realize that the detachment and the constant, our following towards Lord Shri Krishna is how important is that. While we are keep ourselves engaged in our devotional service, at the same time, the detachment which makes us feel that we are going every day, we are going towards towards the near of our death. And in this verse, Krishna shows us that we all ultimately have to go back to him, but with what intention, that is dependent on each individual's own progress towards bhakti. So towards this path, we have to keep detached and keep focused, and that's the only way Krishna also shows in this way. That's all I would like to say. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Jai Shri Gurudev ki jai, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So, this verse there is a big difference between the 72 edition and the later edition. There's quite a bit difference actually. Now, if you compare the two, the translation is that "72, O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths, and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds you have manifest." And the later editions, "O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You manifest with terrible scorching rays." So there is quite a bit difference. Also Vadanaihi is a plural, mouths, which is making singular in the 72 edition. So we have to understand these two things so different. Thank you very much for your wonderful realizations. Avinash, it was nice to hear you from after a long time. And Surasati Mata, you also after some time. So we all have understood the philosophical part of it according to our capacity. Material world is temporary. Spiritual world is permanent. We belong to the spiritual world. So we should be getting out of the entanglement of the material world and going to the spiritual world. This is our position. This philosophy is understood by all. Very wonderful. Now, as a leader Sangha, before we have got other devotees joining us in this Sangha, Bashara Gurudev asking for us mercy, I want to inculcate, as I've been doing for the last some time, that we understand the scriptures, we study the scriptures, we should have eagerness. We will not become big pundits, that's all right. But we have to understand intelligently. Srila Prabhupada has labored very, very hard to give us the scriptures. So wherever we are, we can be under his shelter. This we'll realize if we study it every day. At least it's once a week we are studying. We are very busy with our things. That is correct. I mean, there's no blame to anyone. It is so busy, But it's up to us what we want to do. How much we want to progress. Otherwise, we could be easily misguided, We'll think that ISKCON is within the four walls of the temple. At the most, we will say that no, four wall expands to everywhere. That is also correct. Everything is correct. What is right? Right is the words of Prabhupada. So it is very, very important to understand Prabhupada and what Srila Prabhupada is speaking. Now, there may be others also who are pure devotees. They also write big books. We are not saying the Prabhupada is the only one. Good for them. So we follow Prabhupada. We're fortunate to be in touch with Prabhupada. All goes to everybody else. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Now, with that particular mood, as I said before, others who join us, I want us to understand this. The very first word in the translation and the very last word in the verse is O Vishnu. It's not O Krishna, not O Keshav. Right from the beginning, where Arjuna is seeing the ghastly form of Krishna, material form, which is ghastly, he is either calling him Lord of Lords, imperceivable, inconceivable, but he calls him Vishnu, not Keshava. So there are many names of Krishna which Arjuna calls him according to the questions he asks and according to the Leelas Krishna shows. So we have to spend a little time in these things. So we have completely missed this point. Oh, Vishnu. Vishnu is Krishna, that's right. Keshav is also Krishna, that's also right. Similarly, Arjuna is also called by Krishna as Arjuna, son of Prutha, the relationships, son of Kunti, descendant of Bharata, many reasons. So why Krishna is called Vishnu? So the same point which I've been giving since the time that we started this discussion, Arjuna was talking about, Arjuna sees a universal form and is very afraid. Is this that devotees are not used to seeing the material form of Krishna. There is no need for them to see. With the four-handed form of Vishnu, you can have some relationship. Generally speaking, is that of the servant. And which is perfect relationship. Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. This is 100%. This is the first position. And Krishna is very happy to see if his devotees, talk of the philosophy and discussions about material world, etc. But I want at least the leaders who are preaching should now take the next step now. And that is possible by eagerness to study scriptures. Don't jump. Jumping will not give you any help, as you know. I'm sure you will not. But scrutinizingly studying, If we studied, we would have picked up the word Vishnu. The same of Vishnu, Arjuna says in the universal form on the verse 20 in verse 24. Before that, he doesn't even say anything. He says, "O Lord of Lords." You see? So, 24 in 30th, Arjuna is saying him, "O Vishnu." He's a universal, he's a 400 form. So, Krishna has actually nothing to do with the material world. Nothing to do with the material world. As we study higher scriptures, we study the mood of our acharyas, we understand these points. So it's like, that's okay, material world is there, it's fine. And that's the reason why he manifests himself as Paramatma to help all living beings to think about him, and when they think about him, to encourage them and take them back to Godhead. Apart from that, he has nothing to do with it. He comes with his entourage, with his devotees, and he does the pastimes. What does he do pastimes? So that people like us who are in the material world who understand the philosophy will be attracted by his pastimes. Now, what are pastimes? Leela. So what are Leelas? Actually, Leela means what he performs, what he does all the time. In the last Wednesday, who mentioned this point? Either Sanjeev Prabhu or Sridhar Prabhu mentioned this point that he just love, or God is just loving. He's interested in love, that's it. That is absolutely right. The pastimes are about him enjoying. He enjoys. No, it was about enjoyment. Excuse me. That was the point discussed there. He enjoys. Krishna's only business is to enjoy. He creates anything to enjoy. So our focus now, at least the preachers, should be along, but don't discuss this with the devotees who are not at this level, who are not at the preaching level, and they're also after some time of preaching level. That our business now should be to love Krishna. Philosophy is our basis. It's a foundation on which we love Krishna. And Krishna says, when he also appeared as Mahaprabhu, so he's not interested. When people are not interested in loving him as a love. So among devotees also there are different grades. But please don't misunderstand. I first said that philosophically also if we devotees are doing philosophy, Krishna is very interested. I said that. So I'm not discontinuing that point. All I'm saying is that to go to the next level, we should be now talking about love for Krishna. So our thinking, our reading, our chanting should be expression of our love to Krishna. Philosophy is our foundation for it. This is very important. But at a certain point in time, Krishna is not interested. He's only interested in love reciprocation. That's it. That is the reason why Krishna comes to the material world, especially on earth he comes, perform his pastimes with the gopis, cowherd boys, with Nand Maharaj, with his devotees, parents, Nand Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, so Mother Devaki, Father Vasudev, then with Rukmini, with all the 16,000 queens. As we discussed last week, that what conquers his heart is the fact that when devotees are only interested in giving pleasure to him. Now that is true, to give pleasure to serve him, that is correct. But to give pleasure is very important point. As we start our philosophical journey, we say serving Krishna is very important, 100%. So how do we serve Krishna? It's to give him pleasure. That is our higher point of understanding. So to give pleasure to Krishna. That is our motive. That is our intention. And in this material world, this is a very high point of realization. When we do this, of serving Krishna, of giving pleasure to Him, and our pleasure, when it interferes in our service, we reject that also. Oh, I feel so good when I'm serving Krishna. That has to be rejected. Because you are giving sense pleasure to yourself. At least these devotees, the third time I'm saying, who are preaching for a long time, we must come to this conclusion now. That doesn't mean we artificially come to that. That means that our eyes should be that when we are studying. That's how we understand why did Vishnu, Arjuna say Vishnu, not Krishna. Because Krishna would mean all these things coming to play. Vishnu is not. Reciprocation is not there. This kind of loving. Of course, Vishnu also reciprocation is there. But the loving exchange that happens is very difficult. So, if this is the position that we have to attain, that when our pleasure that we are getting in serving Krishna should not cause disturbance in our service to Krishna, that is, then we're talking service. Then we're talking giving pleasure to Krishna. Then Krishna's eyes open. Oh, this is very nice. Radharani's eyes open. This is very good. So this is the mood of Radharani. She personifies this. You see? Now we know that when Krishna plays his flute in the Rasa dance, all the gopis ran, correct? We know this point. We understand that they were busy working in doing service in their homes, living there, they ran. Some of them were feeding their children. They still stopped and they ran. Correct? Some of them wore different garments, upper garments and lower area, lower garment, upper area, and they ran. Some of them they ran even at the cost of their family members stopping them. Some of them were stopped by the family members and were locked in the rooms. And they prayed inside the room and with Krishna spiritually. So from this we can understand that the gopis are also of different grades. If you get a chance, then we can have a very private session about this. It is extraordinarily brilliant to understand the different gopis and their moods. Then we'll really understand getting into Krishna and loving him. Then we'll understand that Prabhupada's teachings are not restrictive. It is inclusive. No matter how much people will restrict to say, only this is Prabhupada, they do not know Prabhupada's mission is widespread. That is the reason why when Maharishi Goswami Maharaj, towards the end, couple of years before Maharaj departed, Maharaj knew. I could feel when Maharaj would instruct me, Maharaj would always say this one thing: do not restrict bhakti. Bhakti cannot be restricted. This point Maharaj instructed me at different times, at different places. And I said, this Maharaj has not told me before, instructed me before. Now why Maharaj instructing me at this point? So I'm sharing this with you so that you can share it with your people. But remember one thing, moment we are preaching very peacefully, preaching is not equal to peace. Take it from me. But if we are at peace, that is not because of us that we are at peace in preaching. We are at peace because somebody senior of us is really working hard with his or her prayers to make sure that our kshetra, our preaching area, is very peaceful and we are preaching. So we are at peace and we can give peace. Otherwise, preaching meaning what? You take so much hassle for so many people. So in there also there are more politics and all these issues coming up from society or whatever that you cannot disturb. You get more disturbed. Maharaj was always telling me this point. Amrish, you are the leader, you should not get disturbed with all this which is going on. And Maharaj would pray for me all the time. And Maharaj still prays for me, and all of us, through me to all of you. And I pray for all of you. You'll be surprised that our prayers are for whom and when. And of course, I'll request my son to pray also in the future for all future generation of teachers to come. All that is needed is to study Srila Prabhupada's books and knowledge as per the mood of Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj. So when any person, any devotee, when he or she submissively surrenders to the teachings of Srila Gurudev, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, and when he or she experiences the presence of Maharaj in their lives, when they experience the presence of Guru Maharaj's blessings in their lives, then they are in the parampara straight away. That's it. All blessings are going to go to them. All our prayers go. Even if they are not, our prayers are still there. Don't misunderstand. But those who are, they're in the royal road. So, Krishna, as we're discussing, loving Krishna becomes our prime motive. Krishna's situation should not be hampered. All of us should take the responsibility, making sure the preaching should not be hampered. As far as possible, don't disturb. You see, we allow, no problem. And should I do this, Prabhuji? Please do. Should I do that, Prabhuji? Please do. You tell me something, no problem. Don't tell me something, no problem. Continue. Hardly we have said, don't do this, or that is wrong. Only what is to be done that way. Hardly. Because we understand the whole meaning of preaching. We're preaching business. As long as the mood is okay, do it. And the amount of time that we spend in prayers increases all the time when new devotees keep coming in. You see? And you will do the same thing for your teams. Your seniors will do it for your teams. And for seniors, their seniors will do. And for them, their seniors will do. This is how Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. This is Parampara. So we are in a very precarious position in this material world. And somehow or other, people are very distressed. Very few fortunate ones come to us and they sit and listen to us. And we work very hard, gallons of blood, as Prabhupada says, to make one devotee. It's very easy for him to go. And any person who has left us has only left us because they are not interested in philosophy and they were side motives. And we will know when things are complicated, it's because side motives. So please, we should remove that completely, appreciate our seniors, what we are doing, and most importantly, we must now, as we chant, we don't make it known to everybody. It's known to only few of us here, and also our leaders group, and also among them the preachers only. Our focus should be, how do I love Krishna, please him. That's it. Full stop. And for that, oh, I feel good to love Krishna. That is a hindrance for us. It may be words for us. We may not realize this, but at least we'll think about this. So this is what all the devotees do of Krishna who are very close to him. Okay, so now that we have to conclude things, now that we are convinced that Krishna is God, we have been created by him for his pleasure, so let us give him pleasure. And in turn we get pleasure. That is right. Now stop that point, in turn we get pleasure. So if we give pleasure to him, that is our business. That should be our prayer. This is what I realized. I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you very much. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srimad God Chandra Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. For those devotees, as I mentioned before, who have missed our class today, they should listen to the class, and next time when they come, they should make points what they realize. And they should speak. Or if they can't speak, if they're going to be late for not going to attend the next week's program, no problem. Just write down in the leaders group what points you picked up. Or if you can't, no time to write down, then you speak. Like voice message. This is what I heard the program. And these are the points that I realized. Thank you very much. Just say it. No problem. Easy. Simple as that. Okay. Now, does anyone have anything to say or anything to share? Any questions? Please, Hare Krishna. Okay. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki Jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Gurudev ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagat Guru, what words synonyms? Translation Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Krishna God Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.